Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Secret Level. It's a new adventure, just for you. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Prime Video's Secret Level. A huge thanks, as always, to our friends at Prime Video Canada, and by extension, Blur Studio, for letting us watch this series early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, and all things geekcentric. Now, joining me for today's review, we have my fellow gamer, now a gamer dad. Some call him the platforming Poppy. He's Justin, the joystick-loving, load screen loathing, rocket launching Lawrence. How's it going, man?
I hate load screens. Honestly, it's a part of the reason why I bought a PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
I was
just
like,
skip them.
Goodbye load screens. Single best thing in the world.
It's nice that we've gotten past the load screen era of gaming, I think.
And yet some people
good.
haven't, you know.
Some people are still on it for sure. hopefully they can join us in this glorious future. But hopefully you're doing good. It's been a while since I think we've talked about video games. This series that we're talking about is celebrating all things video games, and I wanted to ask you. I mentioned you're now a gamer dad. What's that been like for you? Are you playing any games lately?
Well, it's funny being a gamer dad, and I'm sure there are gamer dads out there that are actively putting gaming ahead of other things outside of their children's needs. However, I haven't done that as much.
Yeah.
I finished a whole bunch of games just to knock off my list. Sort of at the beginning of the year, leading into the middle here. So finally finished Spider-Man 2. Finished God of War. I have Ragnarok, which is the PS5 issued edition, right, of the game, right? So I have that to go through. I also have to finish a bunch of other stuff. I have, however, downloaded and been playing a couple retro game packs. I did download the Marvel and Capcom, the sort of retro.
Oh, the Marvel versus Capcom. Sick. Okay.
Yeah, the Marvel versus Capcom retro set. And it's sort of the whole Capcom collection. There were some games in there I never got to play, like Punisher.
Yeah.
And I think there was another one in there as well that I can't recall. But then I also have the Cowabunga set, which is like all of the retro Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games from the arcade to the Sega. There's a fighter game in there as well.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to see how flexible that IP was across the video game world. Just like from like the different types of games, like you had the conventional sort of adventure games, if you will, with like Turtles in Time and so on and so forth. But there's a fighter game. There's like this old school black and white video game. So like, I don't know. It's cool to. I find myself even as a dad, playing more of the games from my past when I was younger, versus like really sitting down and playing the games of today. Like it has to be a really good game. Like the only other game that I've really kind of been like going back and forth with is Hogwarts. Just kind of been dabbling.
Sure, yeah.
Really, I haven't really kind of settled into it. It's been a while since I've actually settled into a game and like been like have to play every part of it. I gotta finish The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
So that one's like is top of my list to do over the holidays. I might even just do a 1-2 back to back.
There you go.
And try to see if I can.
Both the PS5 versions are out there, and there's all sorts of sales.
I have the PS5 version for Last of Us 1. I do not have the PS5 version of Last of Us 2, but I do know of a video game shop where I can go and trade in some of my games,
totally,
and actually get some of that money back, and maybe put that towards potentially another game, which I think is fantastic. Because why not?
There you go.
Maybe even buy it used and see what we can do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no,
How about you? I know you're the gaming poppy. always popping off with those games, and like always like, oh, like I want a video game this, I want a video game that. So
that's what we say.
I'm sure
us gamers, we're always saying, oh, I gotta go home and video game this. And I've been getting deep into Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which is part of the Dragon Age series, and I've never played a Dragon Age game before, and so going through this, there's so many moments where characters are just like referencing different things and talking about the Venatori this, and I'm just like, I have no idea what anyone's talking about, but it's a fantastic game. I'm playing it a lot on the Portal, the PlayStation Portal. I managed to get the 30th anniversary PlayStation Portal. I'm stoked about that, and it's been working incredibly well. Like I didn't think that streaming my games over the internet from my console at home could work, because I tried it 6 months ago on my phone and it didn't work. So I think it's something to do with the hardware. But been playing that at work, and then the Portal and the whole 30th anniversary of PlayStation has gotten me. It's gotten me feeling my nostalgic self. So kind of like you, like I've been going back, right? I played a bit of Spyro the Dragon. Played about half of that, and then I've been playing through the Sly Cooper games, and those are incredible. It's PlayStation 2, I think, was the big one for me, and so we haven't yet celebrated its anniversary, its 30th anniversary, but just kind of getting into all things PlayStation. And then Justin, I am pumped because Sly Cooper 2 and Sly Cooper 3 are being added to the PlayStation catalog on December 10th.
Wow.
But you know what else is being added to the ability to purchase digitally? It's not coming out physical yet. Is Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, and I know that's one that you are amped for.
Isn't that the sort of isn't that the new one?
Yeah,
that's like sort of inspired by, if you will, the Turtle Shredder's Revenge. Because it's very man. Buddy. Is that hitting, like, what platforms is that hitting?
It's going to be on all platforms. So you got your Switch, your PlayStations, your Xbox, everywhere.
It might be a double
purchase.
Well, I did that for Shredders in Time. I bought it for my Switch and I bought it for my PS5.
There you go.
I don't Xbox.
No, you're good. Xbox. You're good.
Even though they probably have the better ecosystem in terms of, like, being able to just like stream games and play it, and everything is just there. But there's something that's nice about the PlayStation, and I think is like, I don't know, as much as they like try to make these devices thinner and slimmer and less thing, I don't know, I like those chunky boys.
The chunky PlayStation.
The
original
give me a disc drive. You know what I mean? Like, I want a disc drive. Okay. Because it's also a Blu-ray player for me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, like,
a 4K Blu-ray player.
So. Yeah, exactly. So, like, don't be like skimping on this disc player, because it's like, it needs to be slimmer and it needs to be more contemporary. Everyone streams. Not everybody streams good shit. You know what I mean? Like, some people want some stuff. I got collections and stuff like that. So, like, come on, don't give it to me. And also, if you're doing a disc drive, please incorporate backwards compatibility. Like, just incorporate it. Don't
always.
Like, if I got retro games that are like PlayStation 2 or 3, I should be able to put them in there, and this thing should be able to play it. Yeah. I don't think it's that hard. If there's emulators that can play these goddamn things that aren't even disked, you know what I mean? And they're just online downloads, this thing should be able to just pop it in, it registers, maybe even loads in the sort of traditional PlayStation. I saw that they did that. You could change your for your PlayStation.
And the boot up sound is I won't ruin it for anyone who hasn't done it yet, but if you haven't updated your PS5, update your PS5, restart it.
Yeah, they put that thing up with like the spoiler, right? Like, some spoilers ahead. And I was like, what does that mean? And then it's the sound. I'm like, oh, that's the spoiler. Yeah. It's like, well, it's not really a spoiler, but it's cool. It is cool. I like that attention. I like that idea of, PlayStation. They have a long legacy in it, right? They've been around. I think they've helped build that, and for them to celebrate 30 years, and even some of the properties that are featured in this short in the series, they show a lot of love for PlayStation in a lot of ways, right? So, well,
listen, all this chat is making me want to go video game. It makes me want to go do some video game gaming, as you would say. But first we got to talk about this show. So let me get to the synopsis for this series. Risk, fight, discover. This is what you were meant for. Enter secret level. From Amazon MGM Studios and the legendary Blur Studio, founder and visionary creator Tim Miller and executive producer and supervising director Dave Wilson bring us Secret Level, a new animated anthology series featuring original stories set within the worlds of some of the most beloved video games. From the creative minds behind Love, Death, and Robots, each of the 15 episodes is a celebration of games and gamers. Games that inspired the 15 epic stories include Armored Core, Concord, Crossfire, Dungeons & Dragons, Exodus, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, New World Eternum, Pac-Man, various PlayStation Studios games, Sifu, Spelunky, The Outer Worlds, Unreal Tournament, and Warhammer 40K. And I'm just realizing those were all alphabetically ordered. Secret Level showcases a star-studded cast, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Keanu Reeves, Tamora Morrison, Emily Swallow, Ricky Whittle, Merle Dandridge, Adewale Akinnu-Agbaje, Laura Bailey, Kevin Hart, his daughter Heaven Hart, which I didn't realize her name was Heaven Hart. That's beautiful. Ariana Greenblatt, Gabriel Luna, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Claudia Dumet, Clive Standen, and Michael Beach. Secret Level will be available exclusively on Prime Video in over 240 countries and territories worldwide, starting on December 10th, with additional episodic drops until December 17th. So, okay, that was...
You done? You done there, bud?
I think I did it. Justin, this series is coming to us, as I mentioned, from Tim Miller's Blur Studio, which over the last 3 decades, really they've been responsible for some of the gaming world's, most impactful moments, the cutscenes. And we were talking about the show as we were watching, and you pointed out how this series reminds you of what the definition of a gaming cutscene is, and that's because Blur Studio has defined the gaming cutscene. And I think, their work is ingrained in, I would say, probably most of the modern gaming audience's minds, and they're masters at animation of this craft. And I think, we heard at opening night live that this series was going to be coming from Tim Miller and Blur. And I think it just got me and so many other gamers just so pumped. And now we're here. We've seen this show in its entirety. We've seen all 15 short stories. I wanted to start off by asking you, what did you think of the look and feel of Secret Level?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think that Blur Studios has definitely a signature look to their animation, which is very reminiscent of the video game cutscene. But more importantly, I think it's more reminiscent of mocap animation. Motion capture animation is definitely the strength of this style. You're able to see so much detail in the facial expressions, and that then is translated through the animation. And I feel like it really does work, especially when you're looking at people that are actually people in real life, like Keanu Reeves. At times it was like, is this real or is this not? I think that's sort of the interesting part about what the animation style is in this. Like, for the most part too, I'll mention a couple that probably deviate from that, but the majority of these 15 episodes really do adopt a very lifelike, realistic, based on mocap. There's textures. There's such an attention to detail and a refinement that it just feels lifelike, and it's hard to even sometimes discern if it's real or visual effects or 3D animation, however you want to define it. So that is really impeccable. And then you also factor in the depth that they're going with some of the action sequences and some of the in your face moments that are very reminiscent of each of these game properties. And then there's a couple that surprise and delight, like Mega Man and Spelunky, which was, they felt less of a sort of replicating real life and something that felt more of its own visual style, that still had an attention to, the idea of like cinematic camera angles and really sort of bold in your face game moments that, would speed up, slow down. I think it all works really, really well to make you feel like you're in, for the moment, a world, a story that is very different. Oh, and Pac-Man was another one that was just wild and completely different than some of the other ones. But I think you know, the look and feel really does capture what this series is meant to do. It's meant to pull you in to these vignettes, these short worlds, and make you kind of just feel immersed in it. And it does it so well.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned Keanu. Another one for me that really hit was seeing Claudia Dumit, who we love from The Boys. And yeah, there are like full sequences, Justin, where you're right. Like we're seeing people just driving a car or even fighting a dragon. And you're like, I'm just looking at actors on screen. The motion capture and more importantly, the performance capture of these people and their faces and the performance that they're giving is just absolutely just the level of fidelity. It's just another direction for the medium of animation that it's pushing in a different direction, right? Like we talked about some absolutely incredible animated projects coming from French studios like Blue Spirit with Blue Eye Samurai in 2023, and then Fortiche with Arcane, which wrapped up this year from Fortiche and Riot. And I think the way that we were, I think we praised those series because from a cinematography standpoint, from a look and feel standpoint, we're able to get shots that just aren't physically possible in a live action production. So to see kind of on the other side of this, where we're getting these hyper realistic, characters on screen that just look like actors, just look like people, but then still having that mentality that allows us to kind of, do some of the most crazy camera angles that just wouldn't be possible. It's just so cool. And I think it's just it's just another way that we can kind of go in this medium of animation, beyond, what we would do in that traditional, more, sort of cartoony style.
Yeah, or just and if you're going to say cartoony, I think it's a style language. Blur Studios, their look is very reminiscent of like the sort of art movement that was called the hyper realist movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was where you were looking at something, you were like, is this a photo or is this? And then you find out it's actually a painting, and it's like, it's ridiculous, right? So I think that's what Blur's going for, right? Like they're and it's not just with like people in cars, like you were describing. Like, you're absolutely right. You have these moments that are just so mundane. It's like, is this real life or is this not? But like you watch like something like, let's say the Dungeons and Dragons episode, right? Like.
Mm-hmm.
There's such a high level of fidelity and detail in everything. And this is an imaginary world. And like, that's where it starts to really leap out. And like, you start to feel like, well, this could be real. This is this is breaking down those walls of where it's like, is it live action or is it not? Right. Like it's super, super crazy to kind of look at. But then again, like you have Mega Man or you have Spelunky, and these feel so of their own style and own unique look that it kind of lives outside of out of the rest of them, really. At the end of the day, or in Pac-Man too, I keep forgetting Pac-Man because it's the wild one, but like Pac-Man is, all three of those kind of live outside of that sort of this sort of hyper focus. They have their own sort of visual style while still being very playful and also very visual in how they're executing their story.
Yeah, I mean, Spelunky has that chunky character design that's so connected with that property, and then like with Mega Man, but then like Slow Clap, the studio behind Sifu, worked really closely with Blur Studio on this Sifu short, which I just think, they already established the perfect look for that story, so there was no reason for them to go any different, right? And I think that their work with Digic, which is a studio out of Hungary, all of that collaboration just led to this 6 or 7 minute short that just encapsulates everything that you could ever love about Sifu. And so I thought that was absolutely excellent.
It's great that you brought up Sifu, because I forgot about how different that one also felt. It kind of started to feel sort of hyper real, but then it found a different style, right? Like it kind of felt very painterly at times too. So yeah, it's so good. It adds a personality to each of them, right?
Well, speaking of personality, there's a lot of personalities that came together for this cast. I think we can kind of, if you want, we can just sort of jump into different ones. I think the big one that everyone freaked out about when the trailer popped is obviously Keanu. showing up. I think Keanu and Tim Morrison, they are in the Armored Core episode. And I would have liked a little more from Tim Morrison, but I thought Keanu was absolute, and that's not on Tamora Morrison. That's just because I don't think they gave him as much to do. But I think Keanu, I'm saying it like that, was absolutely perfect in this role, right? He's this disheveled, war-torn guy at the end of his rope, and he's kind of in like this self-destruct mode, and the only thing keeping him going is this connection to a voice inside his head. And I love that. I love when Keanu is in roles like with him in John Wick, where he doesn't have to say much, but he can say so much while saying so little at the same time. And I think that works for a short story. Like, out of all the actors you could have pulled into this role, it's perfect. Like, Keanu is absolutely excellent.
I actually think it's some of his best acting since something like, I don't even think he's that great in The Matrix, to be honest with you. That might be a
Sure.
hot take.
Okay.
I think one of my favorite roles with Keanu, more recent, is Constantine, and I saw a lot more of that. I saw a lot more of a personality to the character that Keanu was playing. I think that you're right. He's got PTSD. He only serves one purpose. He understands that he only serves that purpose. He's very full of himself. So this is a very different, in my opinion, it's a very different way of looking at Keanu, right? Because he's always playing like sort of like, again, like you said, like not saying much and saying very little, and he's just standing there. Like, you know, John Wick is like, it's more about just him moving around than him actually saying anything, right? And same with The Matrix, right? Like, he was more of a presence, and he kind of had these moments, and there were some opportunities where he kind of pushed his acting. But yeah, I think he's fantastic in this. It's funny that you say he's like, they all were super, super excited or popped off. I guess because you could see his face in the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting.
And just with his role in Cyberpunk 2077, like, I think just the gaming world and Keanu have just found this beautiful love ever since The Matrix.
Yes, and he has a huge respect for the gaming world, and you know, there's a lot of overlap there in terms of like The Matrix and all that stuff. Having an appreciation for that movie and video, you know, there's overlap there. But the other person to move away from Keanu, because of course he's good, and he's top bill here. He's top bill. He's the
expensive.
First name. Expensive. It's Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was an awful Schwarzenegger impersonation. This was like a surprise, but not necessarily a delight, because I don't know if I liked his performance. I just didn't like how his voice was matched to a character that didn't look like him. Like, it's sort of the same thing with Keanu, and maybe you could get away with Keanu not looking like Keanu, and then you use his voice. But with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has a distinct voice. There ain't no hiding that voice. So to hear that voice on another skin, like to hear it under another character design, it just didn't make sense. So I thought, like, I was sort of miffed by that. I thought they could have probably tried to design the character in it to look more like Arnold, even if it was a younger Arnold to a degree.
It kind of looked like, Justin, it looked like Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, who's Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones.
But beefier. But
sure, beefier. But it looked, but like, if that was the voice coming out of this man's body, then I would have bought it a little more. Because you're right. I think it was one of those things where
I thought he looked like Alan Ritchson.
Okay,
right?
sure.
Like Alan Ritchson from what's that show that he was in? I know he was
Reacher.
That's the other Amazon show that he was in. Reacher.
Maybe it was supposed to be him, because it feels like this is like Arnold was brought in later.
Oh, that's
in
true.
The production,
because it would make sense that they could get Ritchson on this because of the Prime,
that connection.
It might have been an easy sort of thing, because he looks like him, and I think that voice would have probably worked. But there's again, to go back to what I was saying before, there is something nice about his performance, that Arnold's voice performance, that's not necessarily goofy. It leans more comedic, in my opinion. And I think that's very different. Does. Yeah, absolutely. The whole short is very comedic and a little heartfelt at the same time. So I liked what they did with with his voice, like how they were able to get that type of performance, because it's very different from maybe some of the other stuff. Like, I guess, his early comedy work with, like, Twins or Junior, or Kindergarten Cop, like, but even still, like, he was just Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can't I'm not to say you need to hide that. Embrace it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at the end of the day, they should have embraced that in the character design for that short. So that I thought was that was a choice, in my opinion.
I will say I fully agree with you overall for that episode. I do think, though, the writers got me. Kudos to them for getting me back on board, for including a very specific Arnold reference that I won't spoil.
Yeah.
But it is very specific, and when you see it, when I saw it, I was almost on the floor laughing.
It's just, again, I totally agree with you. I know what you're talking about. I just feel like, again, it probably, again, would have just been better if you had brought that element of the character design being based on him. That's all. Yeah. That's all it is at the end of the day. Who else do we got here? I know the other big top head name there is Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, his daughter Heaven Hart,
and his daughter Heaven Hart. Yeah,
in the PlayStation focused episode. I really. They did a great job. I think I was so enamored with all the Easter eggs
in that one,
in that episode, that it was kind of hard to pay attention to them necessarily. And I think that at the end of the day, though, like, that episode is to celebrate PlayStation, so it's totally fine. I think they did a very comparable job, and I think it was great to hear Kevin and his daughter working together. I think that's lovely.
And Patrick Schwarzenegger is in this. He's not in the same short with his father. He's in another short, but again, there's a little familial connection. And I was surprised to see Gabriel Luna in this, which was surprising. When was he in, though?
He was in the Arnold episode.
Oh, was he? Oh, that's right. He's oh, right. Okay, yes, he's in it. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, and his demeanor in that episode was hilarious. It was good.
I want to mention, because I know this was one that we really enjoyed, but she's showing up everywhere. Not little. She's not so little anymore. She's growing up. But Ariana Greenblatt is featured in the Spelunky episode. And I thought she was excellent. I thought her and Merle Dandridge did a wonderful job. And
they happen. You know what the thing is it's great. These are shorts, right? So they're happening at a very rapid pace, and sometimes you can, like, some of them are a little more slower, and you can get really, really invested. It was funny. I was so enamored with just that episode alone that I didn't even care who was the voice actors. I was just like, let's go. This is fun. This is a good time. And I think to have someone like Ariana Greenblatt, who's just killing it on all fronts. Like, she's just 100%. Doing so much, to come in and lend a voice to a character in such an endearing episode. I thought it was cute. It was really good. It was great.
And to be part of a video game adaptation that's actually fantastic, and not the other one that she was in. But Emily Swallow, we know her from The Mandalorian as the Armorer. She calculated. She brought that Armorer vibe to her role. And the fact that, like, as the Armorer, we know her from just her voice, and how phenomenal she can perform with just her voice.
Well, as soon as her voice fired off, I was like, oh, that's Emily Swallow.
There's Emily Swallow. But exactly. I don't want to say anything about the episode other than just wait. You're gonna be, when you hear her voice, you're gonna be freaking out. Let's kind of get into story and pacing for this show. Again, it is an anthology series, so we're getting different stories with each episode. But I think it's tricky with an anthology series, because out of all the games that I listed earlier, Justin, how many of them did you know going into this?
So know about them in the sense of knowing about the franchise. There were a few on the list. Outer World, 40K. Sorry, let me just Warhammer 40K, Unreal Tournament, Sifu, obviously, Dungeons and Dragons, of course, Pac-Man. The Outer Worlds was one that I had heard of. How many have I played, though, is really the other half of that question.
Right.
And like Mega Man, I've played. Grew up with that. Never played Dungeons and Dragons, never played Warhammer. I actually probably I've played 3 of these, I
Right.
think. 3 or
Right.
4.
And so,
yeah.
so to my point, the reason I bring that up is because I think we were kind of talking about this. I think these shorts will resonate with you. There's a very good chance that they'll resonate with you depending on how connected you are to the IP.
Sure.
And I think there were some decisions in terms of the order these episodes come in. Now we've gotten them as screeners, so I don't 100% know the exact order that we
change.
watched is going to be the episodes that. But if it is the order that we watched, I just feel like it's going to be really interesting to sort of see how audiences connect with this series, because I'm torn on it, because Tim Miller. He said so lovingly that this is a series for gamers. And in my mind, I kind of see it as an opportunity where it can be for gamers 100%. And you see the love for gamers in every single pixel. But for a wider audience, I'm just worried that there's going to be some things that won't land for them narratively, and especially early on, for them to stick with the show. And that's where, from a mainstream standpoint, I'm a little bit torn on the story decisions made for some of these episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that could be something that could have a negative impact on how audiences receive this series based on the structure. I do feel like, the first 3 episodes are probably a bit bleak and a little more of the traditional dark gaming world of like, just sort of like what
a
you would
focus
expect.
on violence and a focus on war, right?
Right. And battling. And then you get into a fun episode 4 that really does shift, and then a really fun episode 5 and 6. And then you start to scale back down to where you started. I think to your point, there was a thought process to at least how we watch them. And I think that this does make sense in terms of a structure, of a flow for these 15 episodes to kind of start there and kind of do it. I get the mentality of maybe starting really hot and giving everyone, the things that they're going to get hooked on, quickly. But I think working towards that, which is probably in the middle, because it's not until like 6 where we get like Mega Man, and 7 where we get Sifu in our list, right? And if that's how, like you said, to your point, if that's how it's laid out. But that said, I do think, when we talk about just this idea, like I think Secret Level does a really fantastic job at capturing the spirit of these video game franchises, even if not all of them are relevant or something that I personally connect with. Right. I was sort of immersed in these worlds. They're delivering bite-sized stories that really do adopt that short story mentality, like leaving you wanting more. And I do think that some episodes get a lot more attention and depth. Others, especially the ones that I was most excited about, feel a bit too short in some instances. Sure. Mega Man I wanted more of Mega Man, and I think that is the shortest on this list.
But I think it's interesting, because when we look at the length of some of these things, I know for a fact that there are some people in my life that I know that love Warhammer 40K that are going to be so excited that that's going to be one of the longest episodes. And then you're absolutely right. And we immediately after both watching the Mega Man episode, we're like, I hope people aren't upset by this. But it's interesting because you can't just say the length of these stories will dictate how much you'll enjoy it, because I think the Sifu episode and the Spelunky episode are perfect in how they encapsulate what they show off.
But I wanted more. Like I definitely wanted more of those.
Yeah,
like the same level. Like we got some 18-minute, from start to finish with credits on the front and back of episodes, right? Or even close to 20 minutes. Yeah. And some of those episodes get a lot of attention and focus for what they are, and it doesn't take anything away from them. I still enjoyed them, and I loved the story that they were telling. It's just I would have liked to have seen that to some of the things that I was looking forward to.
For sure.
Right?
And that's
at
fair.
the end of the day. And to your point, it doesn't mean that every story needs to be 18 to 20 minutes for it to be successful. Like, right. I think the biggest success from the Mega Man being the shortest is I immediately wanted more. Like, I was 100%. Like, I want more. Let's get a movie. Let's get a movie. Let's get a whole animated series. Please. This style. I want it. I want it now. Same thing with Sifu. Do you know what I mean? Like the Sifu, like even if it isn't Sifu, give me something in this art style, right? Yeah. That maybe has that attention to it. But with all that said, I do think that each of these episodes show that there's a love and a care for these gaming worlds that is just undeniable from the people who wrote it. Like, I think it's just the show's creative approach really does celebrate the joy as well as the nostalgia of these worlds and gaming in a way that will resonate, I think, like you said, with gaming fans and especially fans of these properties that they're telling stories from. I think that those fans are really going to get it. And I really do hope. And the thing that's really great about Anthology is that you don't need to watch them in the order that they're meant.
Correct.
You can also just watch
go
them
your own order.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also just watch first what you want to watch. Yep. Right. And that's how you get into it. And then if you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then maybe you start branching out from there. But I do think it's worth watching all of them, whether it's in order or not. It's really up to you.
And in order to kind of be able to have that ability, though, you would have to wait until December 17th once they're all available. But I think the other thing I wanted to mention, just to set expectations for people that are listening to us, primarily Western audiences are listening to us, I think. I haven't checked our numbers in different parts of the world, but Blur works with studios all over the world. So something like Honor of Kings out of China or Crossfire out of South Korea, these are going to be properties that you may not have any clue about here. But I will say, for some of those episodes, stick with it. I think especially the Honor of Kings episode was brilliant. And just kind of showcase this idea of, you've got a character telling another, an ancient character telling another character that not everything about his world is black and white while they're playing Go, which is a game that features exclusively black and white pieces. Like, it's just all this really beautiful storytelling. And I think the other thing in terms of the episodes that didn't fully connect with me, I think those ones are they're still so beautiful visually that as a fan of animation, I adored it. And I think, we're massive Star Wars fans. Another phenomenal anthology series that, has visual, artistry throughout it is Star Wars Visions. And it's, even being such a big Star Wars fan, every episode, I love the property that it's following. Not every episode of even that series is as memorable as some of the most memorable moments in that show. So I just think that, like, you're going to get some that will work, some that won't. I don't think all 15 episodes fully hit for me, but if you're a fan of animation, you're going to enjoy it.
Right. And I think a huge shout out to the fact that they're, bringing in properties from China, South Korea, other parts of the world, because I think it really does give this like high level attention to gaming is a global thing. It is 100%. Not just something that exists in one region. And I think that these other areas of the world that have created their own stories and have created their own, I guess, platforms, if you will, for these games, they should be treated with that same sort of attention. And just shout out to them for, to the team behind Secret Level at the Blur Studios and all the writers for just recognizing and acknowledging, like, this would be a good one to throw in here, right? Because it does give context. Because, like, to your point, I don't think I'm going to necessarily go out and play, Concord.
Sure.
Right?
Well, you can't, because that's not you can't play it anymore. It was delisted.
Oh, okay.
Or
I'm
unfortunately,
just, anyways,
it's very sad.
The point is, yes. I'm not necessarily running out to like play any
Honor of Kings or Crossfire,
I'm not going to go and jump into Honor of Kings after watching it, but I was intrigued by the story, and I think that if that's something that can help me at least understand what that game's about, it's done it's done wonders for the property, right? So.
Totally. And I think there are some moments where as for me, I was like, I'm very interested in checking out that Warhammer 40K game that's gotten great reviews that I haven't checked out yet because of the 40K episode, even if that episode wasn't necessarily, as impactful for me. So before we wrap up, Justin, I wanted you to pick one of these 15 episodes that you're most excited for people to see. If it's not one of the first few episodes, or even if it is, what's one that you really are like, stick with this show, check out this episode. It's fantastic.
Well, no, you know what? I'm gonna say it's Pac-Man. I think Pac-Man is really like it goes there. It's a weird one.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's just crazy what they were able to do with it. I also just think like early on though.
Okay, you can do more than one. It's fine. He's struggling so hard.
Yeah, I just
Dungeons
think that,
and Dragons, Justin, you popped off.
I was actually
it?
No, I was Dungeons and Dragons is definitely on the list of like maybe top 3, but I was gonna actually say Playtime. I think Playtime is
okay.
like
which is the PlayStation centric.
Yeah, I just think that it's really great to see that, especially given obviously as we were talking about before, the 30th anniversary, celebrating all that. I think that just there's that level of continuity with that story and what's with celebrating the 30th anniversary that makes it a lot of fun. Makes it a lot of fun, and I also think that it has a really little fun story associated with it, even if it might feel like very typical video game sequence. It's still it's playing with that nostalgia. So to be clear, in order of appreciation, it would be Pac-Man, Playtime, Dungeons and Dragons. Nate, why don't you give us just one of the
I'll give you two. I think the Armored Core one was absolutely, I'll give you 3. The Armored Core one was absolutely excellent. I think again, getting to see Keanu, and there is a moment, a very specific moment in that episode that is not going to leave my brain for a long time. It was absolutely
left his.
Yeah, there you go. And then the other ones, I would say, I already mentioned the Sifu episode. I think for that episode to perfectly encapsulate what that series is. And then I think Outer Worlds is the other one for me that really, 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 kind of stood out, and it kind of, it's kind of this feeling of almost like a BioShock-esque kind of world. Yes. And it's very sad and beautifully performed. And the score, I think, in that episode is what really hit me. It's beautiful piano work. And then, okay, I'll give you one more just because I want to mention 4? I'm going to a number 4.
Okay,
I do want to mention.
Now it just doesn't
we
matter.
talked about Spelunky. I want to say one more thing just in terms of Spelunky. The way that they were able to craft a story that encapsulates the concept of the type of game that it is, right? It's a roguelike, which is a game that you have to play over and over and over and over and over and over again. The way that they're able to take that and turn it into a heartfelt story is so cool, and it shows the creativity of this writing and this writing team. So
also just not default on like, oh well, that's just a game mechanic thing.
Yes, Justin, before we name all of these shorts, because I don't think all of them did fully work for us, but let's get to our final thoughts and score on a scale of 1 to 5 sacred symbols. Let's try to keep it as brief as we possibly can. Go.
Keep it as brief as possibly can. I
like these shorts.
Yeah, for sure. I think again, these the visual style is incredible. If you're an animation fan, you're going to love the animation. I think the worlds that they take you to are absolutely stunning. There is a great attention to the stories of each of these shorts, which again, very much adopt that short story mentality. They leave you wanting more. They leave you thinking like, oh, what's next kind of thing. I love that. I love that they really embraced it. There's only 1 or 2 that really felt very like start and end with their story. But I think overall, each of these stories really understood what they were meant to do with their time, and that is immerse you in something that is very reminiscent of the game that they're coming from. Others take a little bit of a bold turn, and I think at the end of the day, it is about these short stories wrapping you in this world and leaving you with something that makes you kind of either think or feel, and that is a blend of those beautiful stories with the beautiful visuals. But yeah, like I was saying, I guess if there was something that wasn't really working with me, is that the attention to some stories and not others, which I was genuinely looking forward to. I feel like, there could have been a little bit more. I hope there's more. I just hope there's more.
Right.
i.e. Mega Man. Like I want more Mega Man. So
that's your big hang up.
It is. That's like, but it's not even just that. Like even the ones that I really, really like, they were just, they were the ones that were really short. Sifu short, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that it's a bad story from it. I wanted to spend a little bit more time in that world.
Sure.
Something like Crossfire, which, feels like a very generic two-sided shooter game. They went the distance with that one.
Sure.
And it really did feel like that one was just like, oh, okay. Like, there's this one concept and they nailed it, but it took them 18 minutes to get to it. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have spent at least 18 minutes in Mega Man. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. That's fair.
just give me a little more of that. So
I hear you.
I don't know. I guess that's not really going to falter my score on this too much. So I think I'm going to give all 15 episodes a total score of 4 out of 5 sacred symbols.
You got it. You got it.
I was like, sacred, was it symbols? Did you say symbols? Yes, he said symbols.
Yeah, I think similar to Love, Death, and Robots, right? Tim Miller and Dave Wilson's other series. There's going to be, like we're saying, there's going to be some stories that are going to resonate with you no matter the IP. And then there's going to be others that leave you wanting more because they're so good. And then there's going to be some that just will not hit for you. I think regardless of the visuals and the creativity coming from, hit for you. But regardless, the visuals and creativity coming from Blur Studio is always going to knock me back in disbelief a little bit, because they're just so incredibly talented at what they do in the world of animation, and I'm all for it. I think this is a great gift this holiday season that just might be a tad too specific to work for everyone. But again, this is for gamers. This is a love letter for gamers, and I think on that front, this absolutely nails its intention. And I think if you found yourself enjoying Love, Death, and Robots, you're going to feel right at home with this series. And then for everyone else, I think if you give this more than just the first 2 episodes, if that's what launches with this series, the first 2 episodes we saw, because I really do think it's worth coming back to. And I think they're dropping them like every single day, I would assume, with 15 episodes between the 10th and the 17th. So, I think it's like 2 episodes a day, which is, I think, going to be a good time to kind of unwrap a little gift each time, whether it's your favorite thing or whether it's just something pretty to look at. So I hope we get more. I hope they expand upon this. I want a season 2. I think we're going to get a season 2. I'd love a Mega Man film, Tim, if you're listening to this. So yeah, I'm going to give Secret Level all 4 sacred symbols out of 5. I'm giving it the triangle, the circle, the cross, and the square. But that is it for our spoiler-free review of Secret Level. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this series or any of the shows or movies we cover, well, let me just use my controller to enter the Konami code so that Justin can let you know how you can reach us.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free discussion of Arcane Season 2, Act 2. We talk about Season 2, Act 1 as well. And we also have our spoiler-free reviews for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Moana 2, Wicked, Gladiator 2, HBO's Dune Prophecy, Venom: The Last Dance, and Shrinking Season 2. Coming soon, we've got an interview with the showrunners for this very series, Secret Level. We spoke with Tim Miller himself as well as Dave Wilson about this show. We talked about Tim's emotional introduction of the trailer to gamers at Gamescom. We asked if anything didn't make it into the series, and we even talked about, they actually asked us what sort of IP we would like to see in the future. So I made my demands very clear. So hopefully we see that in a season 2. You have to check out the interview, which will be dropping soon for you to enjoy. We also have a ton of interviews available to enjoy right now, like our most recent interview with Star Wars Skeleton Crew series showrunners John Watts and Christopher Ford. We also had the cast of the show, the Skeleton Crew themselves, joined us. Justin had the chance to talk to them about the series, its original working title, and he talks to those kids about how they were introduced to the world of Star Wars. So go check out that interview, as well as all of our interviews available on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Justin, we're here. It's cold. The snow is on the ground. The cozy geek winter is no longer coming. It is upon us. But don't worry. We've got a ton of great stuff coming up that'll keep you warm, including our coverage of Pixar's new series, Dream Productions, as well as Disney's Mufasa, amongst maybe a few other surprises. So again, subscribe, keep up with us as we round out 2024. Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this secret review. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.